YouTube world, my name is Navita, but my friends and family call me Navi. I really wanted to start this YouTube channel because it's an outlet for myself, and I really want to help other families because when I was going through these situations I'm going to tell you guys about, I didn't know where to look, where to research, who to talk to. So I figured this would be really helpful to some families. And it doesn't only affect me, it affects Danny, it affects my mom, it affects everybody around us, our friends. As a disclaimer, I am not a doctor, nor have I ever claimed to be a doctor, but I did get trained and I did get hands-on experience with everything that I'm going to tell you guys about. So with all that being said, let's get right into the video. So when I first found out that I was pregnant, I was 25 and we were really excited. This is our first child and we didn't know what to expect, but I felt like I was ready to have a kid. When I was 20 weeks pregnant, I went to my OB to get my routine ultrasound and they saw something there, but they didn't want to give me detail. So they suggested I go to a fetal medicine OB. That way they can do further testing and just see what was going on. So when we did go, we found out that Nathan had two different anomalies going on. One being a cyst in his lung on the right side, and the second being a cleft lip, which kind of expected because Danny had a facial cleft when he was born. So we kind of figured that was genetics. So when we're going over the results with the nurse, she's telling us all of the different, birth disorders that Nathan had going on, and she's giving us a little bit of detail on it, and then she's suggesting I can get an abortion. I had until 24 weeks before I can get one, and I was within the window. So immediately I felt like that was ridiculous because I don't believe in abortion. I felt like Nathan was sent to me for a reason. He was meant to be in this world. So I was like, hell no. So because of those high risk disorders that I found out I had, I quit my job and I focused more on my health. That way we didn't have to worry about anything extra. That 37 weeks I gave birth. And it was vaginal and I took the epidural because that pain was ridiculous. Those contractions, you cannot predict that pain at all. So it was really hard for me. So Nathan was born at 4 pounds, 8 ounces. And normally babies that are pretty healthy, that are that size, have to stay in the NICU for a few weeks until they can gain a healthy weight of a. So after the NICU, we were able to go home because Nathan had gained enough weight. He was born small, like I mentioned before. So when we came home, we still had to follow up with doctors, and the main one we had to see at the time was GI, so we can follow his weight and make sure he wasn't getting malnourished. So when we did see the doctor, he mentioned that Nathan needed to have a stomach x-ray. That way we can figure out what was going on internally. So we went to the hospital, and when they did the stomach x-ray, they didn't even complete that yet because from the symptoms we were talking about, they said that Nathan had pyloric stenosis, and they confirmed with an ultrasound. So pyloric stenosis is a muscle between your stomach and your small intestine that tightens, and it needs to be loosened. That way food and liquid can go through that so you can absorb it. Mentioned that if we didn't get this procedure done right away, that Nathan would continue to not gain weight and ultimately it could become fatal. So we decided to go ahead and get the procedure done. So we were admitted to the hospital and we got set up. Surgery now, it took them a few hours. We were told this is a common procedure and they had to call in a specialist because it took them over an hour to intubate Nathan. So what that means is they had difficulty putting breathing tubes down his airway when they should have examined him prior to the surgery. So the rush for that and causing damage and trauma to his airway is really significant, and it's been a permanent issue for us. That surgery, which did go well, thank God, Nathan was able to gain weight after that, slowly, but he was still able to not be malnourished. But the trauma to the airway really caused a big problem. This trach and gtube got placed in Nathan. I was going crazy. I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what that meant for us as a family, for Nathan, for his health, for his growth, being around other people, other kids. I didn't know what all of those things were gonna be like. My mom, myself, and Danny stayed in the hospital and learned everything you can think of regarding a trach and a gtube. We can change it, we know what to do in emergencies, we clean it, we just do all the basic maintenance and take care of everything. And that's including machines like oxygen and the suction machine for the trach, the gtube feeding bag that we had to clean and replace every day. Those things were new to us and we had to take the time to learn. So it took about 2 months for us to do all of that. It was a really crazy time because I was not working because I had quit from being my high-risk pregnancy. Danny was the only one working, providing all the financial needs and means that you could think of. And my mom, she was still working as well. She was in the hospital. So she would spend some nights, we would take turns. She would spend some nights, get dressed there, go to the hospital, leave her shift, her 12-hour work shift, come back to the hospital just so Nathan wouldn't be by himself and so I can go get some rest, because at that time I had gotten pregnant again. So you can imagine being pregnant and having to worry about Nathan and all of these new things was not easy. So my mom did the best that she could, Danny did the best that he could too, just to make sure that everybody was taken care of. But it was not something that we planned or expected, and I don't think I was ready for another kid at that time. So after we learned about the trach and gtube for those past 2 months, we were finally ready to be discharged and go home. But I was so nervous because I did not know how I was gonna take care of Nathan by myself, because Danny had to go back to work. I was gonna be home alone. I had to do everything on a schedule. Nathan was on 10 medicines. We had follow-up appointments. I was doing everything by myself. My mom had to work, my siblings everybody had a life. So it's not like I can just ask for help, I can just get a break. And I did get to hang out and be with friends and stuff, but it was only for a moment. You know, when I came back home, it was hard work right away. I didn't get a chance to recover. When I say it was hard doing it by myself, it was hard. Nathan had a issue of throwing up constantly because of all of his different issues going on. So it was a constant cleanup session, clean him up, make sure he's fed again, give him his right medicines. Everything was timed. On top of all of that, then we got to go see the 4 main doctors at the time to follow up on all his surgeries and follow up on all of the conditions going on that were affecting him right away. So that was pulmonary, that was the ENT doctor, that was the GI doctor because of all the weight gain stuff. That was the main issue, weight gain, on top of all the respiratory issues. And then his primary care doctor, who did a great job keeping everything together for all of the doctors. She was a great coordinator. So with all of that, that was just the beginning. There's a lot more to the story, so make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can stay updated with me. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time.